Comparing yourself to others is ruining your life. So in the next few minutes I'm going to share with you the psychology of why we compare ourselves to others and the one idea which will ensure you stop comparing yourself to others, regardless of whether you want to or not. So the first way to stop...
Whoa! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Well, don't you usually begin by telling us a story and then distill the lessons from that story?
You want a story?
Hell yeah, I want a story.
Okay. In August of 2022, I was driving to my local gym to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was 7:30 in the evening and I was excited as hell because I was about to train my 4th class. The brotherhood, the bonding, the movement was all changing my life, even though I'd only practiced BJJ for 5 hours. So I parked my car, walked into the gym, greeted the lads, put my gi on, and we got straight into the session. I showed some promise in my first few sessions, and a few people who were more experienced than I said that I was learning quickly. The curse of beginner's luck. So we got into the warm-up and I was already sweating. The gym was a huge warehouse and 20% of the gym was tucked away in the corner where we could train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu whilst all the other meathead bodybuilders trained to our right. 30 minutes into the session we partnered up and our leader, Patrick, who's a 30-year-old black belt and a huge role model for me, started demonstrating the move we'd be practicing in that session. We then started practicing the move in our partners, but 5, 10, 15 minutes go by and I just cannot seem to do it. Worse still, my partner was doing it flawlessly and I just couldn't wrap my head around how to do it. We then finished practicing and spent the last 30 minutes of the session intensely sparring, but I still felt annoyed at the fact that I couldn't do the technique whilst everyone else could. I then started sparring and nothing was going right. I felt tense and I was getting tapped out by everyone and I had no idea what to do with my body to defend myself other than just lie there and try and breathe. So I finished the session feeling exhausted and defeated. Everyone seemed to be levels ahead of me and I had no idea whether I would ever get to their level. Suddenly, as I was taking my gi off to put it back in my bag, I started to feel as if I would make no progress. So at that point, I just wanted to sulk and go home. But before we ended the session, and before I could fully take my gi off and put it back in my bag and slump my shoulders and walk defeatedly back to my car, Patrick got the whole class of 12 fully grown men to line up in front of him to check our uniform. And while we stood there, and as if Patrick could read my mind, he said, "Never forget that everyone's jiu-jitsu journey is different. Some people become a blue belt within 2 years. For some people it takes 10 years. But your journey is unique to you. And remember that only you can walk your path." And suddenly I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders and I began to smile. I couldn't help but feel that Patrick knew I was struggling by comparing myself to others, so he used it as an opportunity to teach the whole class a lesson. A lesson that I will carry with me from now until the rest of my life. Back in the day, you would have lived in a village, and within that village, there would be a few hotshots who were really good at something. Maybe the local nerd would always win the spelling competition, the local Chad would get most of the girls, and the local boy who was born into his family's pub business would be the wealthiest. That would have been your competition. A handful of people. But nowadays, you guessed it, because of the internet, your skills and talents are broadcast to 7 billion people. You're a good writer? Forget it. There's someone better. You can sing? Pfft, leave it out. Have you heard Dua Lipa? Ah, you earn a decent living.
Dude, check out this 16-year-old earning 2 million a month.
Dude. There are many games you can play in life. The game of wealth is one of them. The game of health, career, relationships are a few more. And most of the time you think you're playing your own game, but when you start comparing yourself to other people, you're no longer playing your own game. You're now playing someone else's game. And when you're playing someone else's game, you don't control the rules, metrics, or outcome. You cannot beat someone at their own game because the game is always rigged for you to lose, because it's not your game. Comparison is like being in an exam and trying to copy other people without realising that everyone has a different question paper. It's an infinitely losing game. To go deeper, here's how your inner critic works when it begins comparing yourself to others. Number 1, it picks an arbitrary field, such as physique, wealth or ability in some area, and convinces you that's all that matters in life. Number 2, it compares you to someone elite in that field. Perhaps you've just started your YouTube channel and you begin to compare yourself to someone with 10 million subscribers who's been making videos every day for 10 years. 3. It then uses this to justify the unfairness of life. You're likely to feel pretty bummed out at the gap between you and this person, so you convince yourself life isn't fair. Finally, number 4, it forces you to make things either easy or hard, without a middle ground. Because you feel bummed out, that either causes you to throw your hands up in the air and quit, or work harder to outperform the person you're comparing yourself to. So why do we compare ourselves to others? Well, there are loads of reasons, such as how social we are as others and how we constantly feel motivated to imitate others, but I think the main culprit is lack of aim. To elaborate, in order to stop playing the games of others, you need to figure out your game that you can play instead. That game needs to have a clear goal. That's not a bagel or a boob, you dirty mother trucker. It needs to have a clear goal, and you need to have clarity over what that is. Because if you don't aim at your goal, you'll naturally gravitate towards the goals of others that they've set for themselves, and I don't really recommend doing that, to be honest. So just like your auntie would ask you at your family gathering, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? What are the activities you can't not do? What does your ideal life look like when you envision it? How do you want to be spoken to? What do you want from your friendships? Is there one thing that exists in disarray in your life or situation right now that you could and would set straight? If you can't answer any of those questions, then try playing this game. Wake up every single day with the sole purpose of making the quality of your life a little bit better by evening than it was in the morning. Because growing is the best form of winning. And when you know what game you're playing, you can say no to the invites from others to play their game.
So wanna play?
Did you not hear what I just said? What you aim at determines what you see. So when you're aiming at your goal, you won't be able to see the goals of others. Or even if you can, it will motivate you to work harder towards your goal. And a little tip here. If, despite doing all of this, you feel you're still comparing yourself to other people online and it's negatively affecting your life, unfollow them. Additionally, I'm not sure what your relationship is like with yourself, but if it reverberates somewhere between slave and tyrant, then try and have a conversation with your inner critic somewhat like this. Hello, mate.
What?
I said hello, Jesus.
I'm not Jesus.
Look, I need to ask you something.
You're not going to ask me to do that weird thing again, are you?
What weird? No. Look, I'm trying to reduce some of the unnecessary suffering around here, and I'm wondering if there's anything you'd be willing to do in order to help. I'd be very grateful for your service.
I'm quite hungry.
That's not what I'm getting at. We could get naked and go to... No, we're not getting naked and going there again.
I could wash the dishes up.
Great. Let's start there. Making your life better means adopting a lot of responsibility, and that takes more effort and care than living stupidly in pain and remaining arrogant, deceitful, and resentful. You have enough on your hands, so don't add other people's games to it. And when you do catch yourself comparing yourself to other people, turn the embroidery round and ask, what would it actually mean to live this person's life? You know, perhaps you want your boss's job, but he's having an affair and your relationship is a lot better than his. So, who has it better? Maybe you want the YouTube account of your favourite influencer, but he wakes up every single day stressed and paranoid about analytics, whereas you live a quiet life of tranquility and anonymity. So who has it better? Whatever the case, no one can beat you at being you. Sounds cliche, I know, but it's very true. Someone achieves monumental success. Good for them. It's not your path. A friend starts earning £100,000 per month. Good for him. Cheer him on. But it's not your path. Someone online knows exactly what they want from life, and you don't. Awesome. It's not your path. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Your destiny is your destiny, and the cool thing is, only you can live it. So, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today.